Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Planet Tyro. I'm your host, Donald Wonder, and I'm joined once again with my buddy, the Catface Killer, Old Boy.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
You know, guys, a few weeks ago, we spoke about a documentary called The Truth Is Fallen, and if you listen to that documentary, we did say we were going to talk about another documentary that was related. Now, we are recording this, so I'm not going to confuse you guys. We're recording this right after that documentary, by the way, but I wanted to give that some breathing room, guys. I don't want to just bombard you with serious content that's going to bore you guys, because these topics we're speaking about are very important to us. Most of the documentaries we spoke about are about real people, real situations. Some are fun, some are funny, but again, we're going to talk about this documentary that was just released recently on Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive. I don't think it's going to stay exclusive on Netflix for long. A lot of these documentaries don't anyway. But it's a documentary called 13th. And that 13th is in relation to the 13th Amendment. We'll get more into it in a minute. And it's got to do, again, with the prison system in America and how it's broken and how it's tied to a lot of the black society, a lot of slavery. It's got ties to a lot of things. I really do not want to make this just a black thing, because the implications for what this documentary is going through is bigger than just the black culture. It's not. It's got to do with the prison system in general, and they do highlight it, but it's mostly got to do with the corrupt jail system and the abuse, and how, man, this documentary honestly was a revelation to me. I'm not even American. And let me tell you guys, this documentary, and I'm going to preface this by saying this documentary is getting rave reviews. I saw a review on What the Flick for this, and I thought, I want to check the documentary out. Yes, I'm a black guy, but I'm not American. I see all the things going on in America with the shootings and the race politics and all this crazy stuff, but I'm not in America. So although I can relate and I empathize and I do feel passionate about this documentary really was a revelation. But I don't live in America, and again, I feel bad because I see a lot. I didn't grow up with a lot of these things going on. I live in London, and although we have racial issues here as a black person, in America, when I see these things happening, and when I watch this documentary in particular, it makes me upset. It really does. But I want you, oh boy, to go into what it's about and talk about your opinion, and then we'll go back and forth as usual.
All right. So this documentary is it's called 13th, in light of 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the United States of America, land of the free. So just the fact that we ever even had slavery in America, very questionable. I mean, it's very how we could move from that to where we are now and be done completely with it has always been pretty murky. It's been addressed in a series of different movies, different television series, all that stuff, but while not like prevalent in our culture, I'm pretty sure most people have always kind of wondered about it, you know, who were not black. And I'm going to come out and say, like, well, as a kid I had black friends, but then, you know, they moved or we grew apart or whatever, and I've spent most of my life without black friends, so I never really got to hear this side of the argument about how our system is failing black people specifically, or people of color. But, you know, black people are always the, what do you call it? Like the flag bearers of that cause. So it relates to me, you know, I'm Asian American. It relates to me indirectly, or, you know, a few steps down the ladder. But the documentary, essentially, it talks about Black Lives Matter, you know, the current thing that is bringing a lot of attention to that injustice and the flaw in our system, perhaps intentionally so. But it really focuses more on how our system is a system of slavery. And they talk about it specifically in our laws, in our Constitution, and in our justice system. I personally feel like, because I haven't been able to get that side of that spectrum of views of that side of the argument and everything from, you know, black people who've had to deal with this sort of, as a front runners, deal with the injustice of that system. You know, I feel a little bit differently. Like the documentary Zeitgeist talks more specifically about how we're basically financial slaves.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of tied in with this too. We'll get to it, but that is more my broad viewpoint of our systems, not just in the United States, but the entire world. But right now we're focusing on this documentary, 13th. So, they go about from the past, the forming of our country almost. Shortly after that, there was the Civil War, and they go from that point on and how they created the wording for getting to the point where we are in our Constitution and in our laws, where essentially it's like, we're done with slaves, we're done with slavery. Well, as long as you're not a criminal. So basically, we were talking about this in the other documentary, The Truth Has Fallen. You're a criminal, you're a slave. You don't have the same rights as people who are free. They're very specific about this in the 13th documentary. And you are legally a slave. If you go to prison, if you're convicted of a felony, you are legally a slave. It is very clear in our wording of our laws and our Constitution that you don't have rights anymore. You're a slave. You don't get paid the same wages as people who are not slaves. You don't get the freedom to move around as people who are not slaves. You don't get the choices to make. You don't get to vote. You don't get to own firearms. You don't get to do anything. Even when you get out of prison, you're still half a slave. That is our system. And the documentary talks about it a bit, but it's more focused on just how our system has allowed for this to persist, to exist, and it's ridiculous, for the land of the free to me.
Can I say something? Because one thing I want people to understand, and I don't want people to zone out when they hear us talking about this. I grew up with a lot of friends that always had, as a black person, the white man in America trying to keep us down. And the thing I like about this documentary, and the thing that makes this documentary different from an agenda where they're just showing how the government and the white people hold us down, is that they show from a business perspective how this has benefited corporations in our society today. And this is the thing that I like about this documentary. It's not even trying to show you that, the white people were just doing it and the government are just doing it for the sake of just manipulating people because they hate black people. No, man, it's about money. A lot of this is booming certain businesses, and they show the companies that have been benefiting from this for ages. And they even show how in recent years there's been a backlash towards that and how they've tried to crack down on it, but they still show the injustice and how it's a fucking game. And this is the thing about documentary that's interesting. It's not just as simple as whites versus black or government hates black people. It's not only, yes, there's obviously an element to that, don't get me wrong, yes, but there's money and politics and how it benefits the economy in general, and the information that is, again, it's not propaganda, it's not some facts that are brought out of nowhere just for an agenda. They have people coming here. This is a documentary that brings a lot of educated people, black, white, from different nations, from different companies, explaining how even Hillary Clinton and the fucking, the devil himself, Donald Trump, how they have used certain agendas from the early 90s, from the 2000s, how they said things, how politics have done things, how, what's his name, Nixon, and all these people throughout the years, how they set certain agendas, not just to benefit them and to perpetuate certain themes, that it's not, and to benefit themselves. So again, it wasn't just a race thing per se, it benefited the country on the whole. And keeping prisoners as slaves, one of the most annoying things to me, as I said again, is that how it just benefits them, not only on a racial level, but on a financial level. And the facts the documentary brings is very educational. And this is one thing I really think that sets this documentary apart. This is what a lot of the critics have said. They bring so many factual evidence, not hearsay, not made up shit, educated people, things that have been corrupt, people that have already been tried, and that's one thing I really think sets this documentary apart. People do not just think this is some fucking some black, because I think the director of this is black, so people might think she's got an agenda, and this is
I don't think it matters what her race is. Let me put it that way. This is a documentary, it's not a conspiracy theory film.
Well, I have to say that because some people hear this, this Black Lives thing is going too much. I'm sorry, I have to say that, guys, honestly, I'm separating myself away because I don't live in the US. Yes, I'm black, but a lot of these things, even me in the UK, we don't deal with a lot of this shit as black people. We don't. I don't care what anyone says. Ask any of my friends in the UK. the shit they deal with in America as a black man, as black people, is on a whole different level. And yes, I will say this honestly, we look down on Americans. As black, white people all look down because they got a very broken and corrupt system. And if you're non-American, I really think you should check out this documentary, because honestly, this is I wouldn't even say this is like a cautionary tale, but it's, again, I'm not gonna say other nations that we're all better than America. No, I know a lot of this corruption is all across the world, and I said this in the beginning. I don't think this documentary just applies to black people. They speak about other minorities as well, Mexicans and Asians. They speak about them as well, but unfortunately, the black population is the majority that's been affected by this as well, and it's got ties to slavery, as you said in the beginning, old boy. And I really want to put it out there, guys. If you listen to this documentary, this is not a propaganda, agenda, conspiracy theory fucking documentary. It's factual. A lot of intelligent people of all races are bringing factual points that is very interesting. I do not think this documentary is boring. And I just wanted to cut in and say it, because I don't want people just to think we're coming on with this agenda, speaking about prison. We did 2 documentaries on it. No. Honestly, if you're talking about just on the entertainment level and the way it's presented, the way it's put together, presentation, narration, the facts, the guests they have on every level, this documentary kills it at its narrative. And I think this is one of the best documentaries at being somewhat, I want to say impartial, but there's a message here that's targeted. So I'm going to say somewhat impartial to what they're trying to convey to you and explain to you. And honestly, I honestly believe in my true heart, this documentary is being as honest as it can be and being as unbiased as it can be about the topic at hand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll come out and say I think it's a Hall of Fame documentary. I came away from this documentary on a subject I was not really familiar with. Like, because I'm a person of minority, but I'm not black, things like Black Lives Matter, everything, what I get from the media is like they're shooting cops. And that's really, people are upset. They're storming the freeways and blocking traffic. That's really all I knew about Black Lives Matter. This taught me a lot more of their movement, because their movement is, they even say in the documentary, there is no head of this movement. And so to give them a chance to present their case, to inform people what their cause is, to build it professionally, a presentation, look, this is what we stand for. This is what our problem is, the system. This is what's wrong with everything that we're upset about. To actually give it an unbiased, undemonized sort of outlet, on something that can reach everybody. Netflix is huge. I would say it's even better for a source of news than Facebook at this point.
Yeah. That's
why I would say it's a Hall of Fame, because I came away from it, I learned a lot, and I feel like you said, they were, are they trying to say something? Of course, but it's not like they just absolutely smear the opposition. They just say, look, and they do it like if you were to take a seminar in college or something, this is how all of our feelings are. They present it, they give facts, they connect all the dots. Whereas if you were to talk to like an activist or something from Black Lives Matter, you might get something that's kind of garbled, or something that's like from their point, which is probably from like the bottom up, whereas this is from the top down. Like, this is everything that we are talking about. This is all the problems we have, and it's very clear. And even though it's kind of long, I think it was like 90 minutes, it's concise.
Yeah,
they get to the point.
Yeah, and it's well shot. And funny thing is, I did complain about the Truth Is Fallen documentary, that the presentation was mediocre but good with the artistic element. This documentary, honestly, and actually, this documentary has that Truth Is Fallen element, and I don't want to do this, but I'm going to bring up a point. This is extremely, to say heartbreaking is an understatement. Early in the documentary, they show there was a young man who was falsely in prison, just like the Truth Is Fallen documentary illustrated as well. He was falsely in prison. He was stuck in bureaucracy for 3 years, I believe, or something?
Yeah, for a few years. He was a young kid, too. He started out as a teenager when this all happened.
And he was proven innocent, and they dropped all the charges. And it ruined his life. And then honestly, and I thought that was bad enough. And when he got out, he fucking committed suicide. It was completely horrendous. To say it broke my heart was an understatement. And even the Truth Has Fallen document even go that far. It didn't even, they hinted at that. But this documentary took the points even that the Truth Has Fallen documentary made, pull it in here, and just broaden it with the other elements as well. And I'm so glad this is on Netflix. I am so glad this documentary is on Netflix. Just like you, boy, I have to give this a Hall of Fame. Putting the subject matter aside, it was shot fantastically well. It had all the elements anyone with a short attention span can get into. This is a documentary I would give almost to anyone, and some people might not like it. I'm not going to say it's for everyone. I'm not going to say it. I'm just saying this is the best documentary dealing with just the All Black Lives Matter and all this racial tension, and on top of that, uncovering all this shit that has been hidden from the public that people don't know. So this documentary kills on so many levels, absolutely so many levels. I'm so glad. Right now on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, it's got an extremely high score. One of the best documentaries out in the last couple of years. It's getting rave reviews. I'm so glad that I saw this one. It was recommended. And guys, I will just say again, I said 100 times, I don't think this is a hard documentary to like. And I think that I actually think if you're non-American, you would like this documentary more just because it's very enlightening on so many things you might not even know. So, although if you're American, of course, this might speak to you a lot as a black person, because you'll be like, yes, finally, someone's, got the evidence and brought attention to the subject in a real way and uncovered all this stuff. But as a non-American, like me, you'll be like, wow, I had no fucking idea. All this corruption, all this politics, all this social benefit, man.
Well, not even just that. They explain why. People think, oh, it's just like a racism thing, and there's some of that too. It's like a black versus white. White people have to be on top or whatever. No, it's all about money. It's always been about money. And to what I was saying earlier, I mean, we're not going to get into it, but another really educational couple of documentaries I found concerning slavery in our modern day and age is Zeitgeist. Specifically. Zeitgeist, specifically the part that deals with the international banking and whatever, as well as there's one on YouTube called The American Dream. It's an animated one, which we actually didn't get around to last month, but it actually breaks down how insane the banking system is in America as well as the world, but it's specifically really in America. It's really very short.
It's 10 minutes,
very
right?
Short.
10 minutes, I think.
I think it has a few 10-minute clips. I think it's like 30 to 50 minutes, maybe even an hour, but it's short. Yeah.
I'll put a link to that in the description. I'll put a link to most of the things we mentioned. And the Zeitgeist trilogy, again, is one of my that has got some conspiracy theory elements to it. I'm not going to lie. But that documentary, I don't think we're going to do a review for that, because that documentary has gone over a lot of people's heads. The director of that documentary, Peter Joseph, has been held as an anarchist because he's a 9/11 truther. So,
Well, let me put it this way, okay? Zeitgeist appeals to me on things that I feel are factual or, I have hunches about. 13th, this documentary, 13th, is factual. Like there are people who have dedicated their lives to studying this stuff. Yeah. And now they've been given a chance to present it, and they do it professionally. Yeah. It's shot professionally, it's produced professionally, its arguments and its viewpoints are presented professionally. Whereas Zeitgeist, maybe more of a personal project for that director. And then The American Dream, same thing, probably more like a personal project. But if you do digging around, you're going to find the same stuff, even on the infamously incorrect internet and stuff like that. But I mean, you go to libraries, you read up on it, the stuff's going to come back mostly true. Yeah,
exactly right, man. And you know what? I'm going to leave it at that. I think we've said enough, guys. There'll be a link in the description to check out the documentary on Netflix. Leave your comments down below if you've seen it, or if you haven't, go watch it. Come back and leave a comment. And you know what? If you do watch this documentary, recommend it to someone else. Because honestly, this is another documentary I feel like will make the world a better place if more people see it. I know that's very high praise and very highfalutin or whatever, but I do think more people need to see it in general. And I'll be telling people, I'm going to America. I'll be in America at the time it's recorded. I'll be back from America. I'm going to tell all my American friends to check this one out, because honestly, this is one that needs to be seen.
Needs to be seen by everybody, I think. Whether or not you even live in the United States, like you're saying, it needs to be seen by everybody.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's enough of that. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like our channel, why don't you subscribe? You'll see more serious and non-serious, and just, we're all across the spectrum. We like to keep it flavored. We like to keep it interesting. And if you don't know what I mean, you can check out those annotations on the right there. You see those annotations? Click on them. Books, movies, TV shows, animation, the podcast. I want to thank my buddy. I'm so glad that I have you on here. as an American, as a minority as well, I'd like to get your opinion, which is different, because I think that does make the conversation a little bit more fair.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I mean, it's a really important subject matter, so I'm glad I was here.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you around, folks. Hey, when are we gonna do a free squeal, by the way?
Very soon, before the year's out. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.